Hi, my name is Gemma. I have 0 degrees in writing and I am going to give you advice. What a great intro. But yes, I am here because I wouldn't say I'm a Nanowrimo veteran, but I've been doing it for a really long time. I've been doing Nanowrimo since 2014. That's 3 Nanowrimos down. That's 150,000 words. I've been doing Camp Nano since 2015, so that's like 3 nanos. Like, it's like I kind of got experience. So this is my advice for Camp NaNoWriMo or NaNoWriMo, but it can kind of be applied to writing anything on a deadline. Like, writing on a deadline is fucking hard. So as your kind of NaNoWriMo veteran, here's some advice. Number 1 is that if you're a pantser like me, as in someone who does like next to no planning or is adverse to writing a plan, here's my advice: write somewhat of a plan. What I like to do is just have like a little notebook. Actually, this was a $2 notebook from Target, and literally I just write down anything and everything that comes to mind. So I keep this while I'm writing, but before you start writing, have just like a page or something that just like has characters and their motives, or by the time I finish my story, I want to be here. Having this is your golden ticket to finishing your book. Back in my first NaNoWriMo, I was literally grasping at straws trying to finish that 50,000 word count, because I literally did 0 planning for it. Like, I did planning, but it was like really useless planning. It was like, here's the history of the town they live in. Important, but not critical. I would say just know your character's motives and write them out, just in case, you know, you kind of veer off your story. That generally means you've lost a little bit of mindedness about your characters. So just write their motives, write the end goal, and you will make it to your word count. Because if you just have proof that you know where you're going, sorry, my phone just buzzed. If you have proof that you know where you're going, you will get there so much easier than if you just go and wing it 100%. Secondly, your deadline is a goal, but it's not the be-all end-all. It is really crushing when you don't make a word goal. I remember Nano July last year, Camp Nano July. I didn't make my word goal and I was like really down in the dumps about it. But my advice is that it's okay. The fact that you put words on a page is amazing. Like, you shouldn't be hung up on the idea that you have to meet your word goal, because it's just not practical in every situation. We are human beings, we have lives, and shit happens. I would say my number 1, or technically this is my number 2 advice, is that strive for your word goal. Let it motivate you to be a better writer, but don't get hung up if it just doesn't work out, because it won't 100% of the time. You will have stuff happen that requires your attention, and that can be like soul crushing, taking yourself away from your writing, but you have to look after your life before you look after your novel. It sucks, I know. Piece of advice number 3 is actually kind of weird to say, and that's keep your storytelling to a minimum. What I mean by this is storytelling to other people. I've completely forgotten who told this to me, but the reason why is that if you keep repeating your story idea, keep repeating just your plot, it becomes very mechanical. This is the exact opposite of what you want. You want your creativity to be a river, not a machine. It should be carrying you forward. It should be motivating you to get in front of that computer and just bang out your words. If you keep repeating your story idea, you kind of lose interest for it. It becomes very like, yes, this is what I'm doing, and now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do it. You don't want that. You don't want it to seem like a chore that you're writing this novel, because your novel should be a story that you want to tell. But if you keep telling people over and over again while you're still writing, it is really detrimental to the creativity process. So if you can, keep your plot communication to the bare minimum. Come up with one line that you tell people. It could be, there's this girl and she finds out that she is to be wedded to this prince, and it's like really dramatic. Keep it to something really basic, and it will kind of actually motivate you to flesh out details, and it gets people hooked. You don't want to give away too much because then it's not interesting when they read it. That's a lie. But try and keep it to a minimum. It will keep you more core related to the novel. Tip number 4 is accept criticism. And that's like really hard for me to say because I am such a stubborn person. Like, I kind of feel like I come off a bit carefree in front of the camera, but I am so stubborn. So when people tell me like, oh, that's a massive plot hole, you need to fix that, I'm like, what would you know about plot holes? That's instrumental to the next book, even if it's not. What I would say is get yourself a good beta reader, which for those who don't know what a beta reader is, it is one person or a couple of people. Keep it like as small as you can. But it's that person who reads the bare bones of your novel and helps and watches it grow. So find a beta reader who is kind and yet really, really honest, and listen to them. I feel like that's better advice. So let me reword my advice. Advice number 4 is get a good beta reader. If you have a good beta reader, you have a good draft. And, you know, it's really nerve-wracking giving your baby over to another person. But it's really important that you get input because, you know, I have been reading like my own work for now. Like, I've in the middle of editing my first like big completed novel. And, you know, I thought I edited it to scratch and I gave it to my friend and she's like, your character's eyes were blue at the start and now they're brown. And I was like, how did I miss that? That is because you were literally so invested in your own writing that it's really, really hard to destroy elements of your child. You need to give it to someone who is A, not a family member, because no matter what they say, they cannot be 100% honest. And 2, give it to someone that is really nice and kind and genuinely wants to see your novel become the best it can be. But someone who's really brutally honest too. Like, you don't want to be told like, this is amazing, don't change anything, when suddenly your main character is a boy and they're a herbologist, not a wizard. Like, you gotta find someone in that middle who combines both the politeness that you need so that you're not totally destroyed after they give good criticism, but somebody who will give criticism. Like, you gotta find someone who is there in the middle, because that is what makes a good manuscript. And finally, advice number 5, be patient. I know that sucks and it's not what you want to hear, especially when you're writing on a deadline, but be patient with yourself. Your writing will not work unless you do. So, you know, take regular meals. Don't drink 7 cups of coffee because that's not good. You know, take breaks, read, go on a walk, spend time with people. It is really important that you are taking care of yourself so that you can take care of your novel. You know, I can read chapters of my book where I've been sleep deprived, or I haven't had a proper like meal, or, you know, I haven't showered yet. Like, things like that I can tell because my writing is really stiff, it's not creative, it's not flowy. You need to take care of yourself to make the best book you possibly can. It sucks to hear because we all love coffee. Like, if you're writing, you love coffee. So that wraps up my tips and advice to writing on a deadline, specifically writing for Nanowrimo. I hope this helped somewhat in your endeavors. I wish you all the best. Bye, guys.